2007 was one of the craziest seasons in the history of sports, and arguably the most shocking surprise of the entire year was the rise of Kansas football. Led by Mark Mangino, the Kansas Jayhawks went 12-1, and they were one win away from potentially going to the national championship game. We're not talking about just any school, we're talking about Kansas, the worst Power 5 program in the history of college football, and they were led by a breakout star at quarterback by the name of Todd Reesing. Some people called him the Johnny Manziel before Johnny Manziel, and he took the worst program in college football and made them relevant for a short period of time, and he had a great career. He's the best quarterback in school history and led the program to never before seen heights, but how did that happen and what has happened to the guy since? Today we will talk about what happened to the greatest quarterback in Kansas Jayhawk football history, Todd Reesing, and where he is now. But first, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you love football. Help me reach 25,000 subscribers by the end of December. Give the video a like, share it with your friends, comment your thoughts, suggest who I should do next, and stay until the end. Now let's get started and talk about what happened to Todd Reesing. Todd grew up in Texas like a lot of good football players, and he was driven to be a big-time player, but the cards were stacked against him. Back when he was a high schooler at Lake Travis in Austin, Texas, he had a difficult time convincing college football coaches he could play quarterback for him. He was an undersized dude, and he was the 4A Player of the Year in Texas, but when he would send his highlight footage to the big programs, he kept hearing the same thing. He was told his arm was too weak, he wasn't tall enough, and that his film just wasn't good enough. The kid won football games, but he didn't get a lot of respect and was driven to the core to be good. Luckily, he would get a chance to play Power 5 football as he was offered by both Kansas and Kansas State, but after Mark Mangino watched him play, he offered him a spot on the team. He said, quote, "I came in and met with Coach Mangino, and he actually offered me that day on the spot. I think that was kind of what really sold me, him having that confidence regardless of what my size was." Obviously, Reesing committed to Kansas, and he had this to say, "I think I had a chip on my shoulder for a lot of reasons, not being recruited, wanting to prove people wrong, but more than anything, I just wanted to win." According to 24/7 Sports, he was a 3-star recruit, the number 17 pro-style quarterback, and the 701st best player in the class of 2006. He was literally a competitor with everything he had and had a chip on his shoulder, and he was going to brew something special in Lawrence, Kansas. Going into 2006, the Jayhawks were under legendary head coach Mark Mangino, and there were no expectations for his freshman year. He was actually redshirted his first year, but it was burned midway through the season for him to play against Colorado, where he actually led them to a comeback victory win. The starting quarterback, Kerry Meyer, came back the next week though, and Reesing remained the backup for the rest of the year. Going into 2007, there were no expectations for Kansas or Todd, but he won the starting job, and Meyer moved to receiver, and he was ready to win. They beat 4 low-level schools to start the year, and they were 4-0, and then beat number 24 Kansas State in the Sunflower Showdown, and all of a sudden, Kansas football was 5-0 and legit. They were ranked number 20 and then beat Baylor, Colorado, and Texas A&M to advance to 8-0 before a big game against Nebraska. Against the Cornhuskers, Reesing passed for 354 yards and 6 touchdowns, while the Jayhawk offense scored a whopping 76 points. This is the most points ever scored in one game against Nebraska in the program's history, and it came by way of Kansas. He got them all the way to 11-0 and number 2 in the country before the border showdown against number 4 Missouri, another team that was a Cinderella of the year. Led by Chase Daniel and Jeremy Maclin, Mizzou took control of the game, but Reesing led the Jayhawks back, and they actually had a chance to win, and they were starting from just inside their own 5-yard line with under a minute to play. He ended up getting sacked in the end zone, and people refer to that play as Sod Reesing because he came up with grass in his face mask. Sadly, Mizzou got killed the next week by Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship, and they missed out on their best chance to win a national title in program history, besides maybe 2013. He led Kansas to a 24-21 victory over Virginia Tech in the Orange Bowl, and they capped off their best season in school history with a 12-1 record. He also threw for a school record 3,486 yards and 33 touchdowns while completing 62% of his passes. He was named a semifinalist for the Davey O'Brien Award, which was awarded to the best quarterback in college that year. What a year it was for Kansas, and that Kansas-Mizzou game back in the day is actually the first game I personally have recollection of. Going into 2008, Kansas football had some hype with Reesing coming back, and they were ranked number 14 in the preseason polls. He opened up the season completing 37 passes against Florida International, and that was a career high for him. During week 3 against South Florida, he threw for 373 yards and 3 touchdowns, but his interception in the final minute put South Florida in position to win, and they hit a game-winning field goal, and it was bad, but not that bad as they were ranked number 19 at the time. In a win against Kansas State, he completed 14 of 23 passes for 162 yards and a touchdown, and that was a big game because it was a rivalry, and additionally, he rushed for a season-high 47 yards and a touchdown. He'd get his revenge against Missouri that year as the Tigers were ranked number 12, and Todd took this game to heart and threw 4 touchdowns, including a game-winning touchdown pass with just a few seconds remaining. When Reesing was at Kansas, this series between them and Mizzou was a lot of fun. This game was tough to watch, and I gotta give props to Todd on that performance. Kansas made a bowl game again, and this was the best 2-year stretch in school history. They got selected to play in the Insight Bowl, where they beat Minnesota by 3 scores, and Reesing had Kansas football on the top of their own world. He threw for 3,888 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 13 picks, and broke multiple school records along the way. Going into 2009, it was going to be Reesing's senior year, and big things were once again expected, as they started out ranked number 25 in the country, and they won their first 5 games, including wins over Duke and Iowa State. They were up to number 16, and Kansas football was really starting to become a good program, but that's when things fell off. They lost to Colorado, then Oklahoma, then Texas Tech, then Kansas State, then Nebraska, then Texas, and they were at a 5-6 record and in serious danger of missing out on a bowl. The games would always be close against Missouri, and they would have a chance to win that and defeat their arch rival in the same way. And it looked like it was going to happen. Mizzou was down 39-36, Kansas had the ball, but Mizzou forced a safety, then got the ball back, went down the field, and hit a game-winning field goal to send Kansas to no bowl game, and this would be the final moment of Todd's football career. They went 5-7, and it was over. It was tough, but he finished the year with 3,616 yards and 22 touchdowns, and it was his worst year starting-wise. He went down as the best quarterback in Kansas football history and had Kansas football relevant. So what happened to the best quarterback in Kansas history after this? Well, we gotta start out. Mark Mangino was fired a few years later for some controversial things he said, and Reesing would go on to get a tryout with the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the CFL, but after 2 weeks he was cut. And that is the only time he ever went after professional football, and since then he moved on from the game, settled with his family back in Austin, Texas, and he started working for a business established by a former Kansas alum. And he said he's very happy with life, spends time with his family, and does a lot of traveling, and keeps up with Kansas football, so his life seemingly just became normal. He was a college football legend and is one of the best quarterbacks in Big 12 conference history statistically. I was young, but he was a lot of fun to watch, and he is the definition of a good college football quarterback, and he was just a great guy for the sport. I'm sad he never got a chance in the pros, but as long as the dude's happy, that's all we can ask for as fans, and he provided us all with a lot of good memories, even for Mizzou fans. What do you guys think? If you're a Kansas or Mizzou fan, let me know down in the comment section what you think of Reesing. Let me know what player I should do next, and if you have an idea for a video I should do, let me know. If you want to help the video and the channel do better, please hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos, including a video about the rise of Puka Williams. Thank you guys for tuning in today, and I hope to see you guys again soon. But until next time, peace.